The coaching carousel has come to a stop.
Probably not where anybody expected it.
His name was all over the place, but it didn't seem like anybody wanted it.
Yeah.
Dan Quinn is going to be the next head coach of the Washington Commanders.
So close to being Dan Quayle in DC.
It's Dan Quinn in DC, though. Can he spell potato?
Ooh, that whoever runs the social media, it would be a deep cut. But if can you spell potato and just have him nail it, just so he doesn't get
That's
Dan
right.
Quinned.
This seems like a team that they appeared to have their ducks in a row the earliest. They went out, they were the first team to hire their GM.
Mm-hmm.
They were doing interviews and aggressive in the interview process. The first to kind of get out ahead of things, the last to hire the coach. And we went over the three best remaining candidates, and
not on that
he
list.
was fourth.
It was a top three, and he was not there. Hey, look, I don't think Quinn's a bad coach. I just, number one.
Dude coached in a Super Bowl and had a 28-3 lead.
Yeah, I just, number one, I love Vrabel. Belichick's resume speaks for itself. And if you're looking for the non-recycled coach, McDonald was the rising star at 36 years old.
Yeah.
Dan Quinn didn't really meet any of the in-prime, very successful, or up-and-coming. Still good. I was a little bit surprised that after Ron Rivera, defensive-minded coach, retread, and that's not a disrespect to Ron Rivera, but when you've been through the cycles and been on multiple teams, you become a retread, that they went retread.
Absolutely. But at the same time, Mike Vrabel would have been a retread. Bill Belichick would have been a retread.
I think there's
distinguished retreads, but so is Dan Quinn, who went to a Super Bowl.
It's fair. It's fair.
Things did melt down and fall apart around him, and everybody's like, wow, it's just a product of Kyle Shanahan. Well, it's a product of hiring a defensive coach is what it is, because you make a good coordinator hire, and that offensive coordinator is brilliant, and he does everything that you need. Well, guess what happens? He goes and gets a head coaching job, and Kyle Shanahan is a really dang good coach. We know that. He's coaching in the Super Bowl next Sunday.
No.
Next Sunday.
Next Sunday.
Not this Sunday.
Next Sunday.
Next Sunday.
Double
Not
next Sunday.
No. This Sunday would be the upcoming one. Next Sunday.
Is that how you do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This is the one that's directly in front of us, and then the next one.
Okay. I would have said the next Sunday as in, okay, fine.
Either way, he's coaching in the Super Bowl. Good Lord. And that was where Dan Quinn, he couldn't fill his shoes. And those are going to be impossible to fill when you have a guy like Kyle Shanahan and then the roster turnover, and that inherently comes with going to a Super Bowl. People pillage your roster, whether you win or lose. And that's what Atlanta was up against, and he was unable to fulfill it.
To replicate it, sure.
He falls on his face. He was a great defensive coordinator in Dallas, even though, people want to say it was turnover luck, and, you can't look at what happened at the end when they give up, a 50 spot to damn near to the Green Bay Packers. Do you give 45 points in the final game? That's our most recent memory. And you're like, okay, yeah, that's the guy we want, who in crunch time, his defense completely disappeared.
Yeah, I have multiple instances of turnover luck going your way. I tend to believe it's not necessarily turnover luck as much as it is
over several years.
Yeah, that's probably what you're creating as opposed to just natural turnover luck.
Whatever it is, it doesn't seem like this was Washington's first, second, third, or fourth pick. But Dan Quinn is the guy now.
In that vein, before anybody kills it, and I should include myself in this, I didn't think it was a great hire. But Pete Carroll was not the Seahawks' first choice. Pete Carroll was not the USC's first choice. You get these instances that pop up that come around, and you kind of go, well, maybe I guess we'll go with this guy, and then it ends up being the right guy. So it's not always the first choice guy that makes the most sense.
Absolutely not.
The circumstances that may lead you to somebody else, they may not always be the best, but when you get down that road, when it, push comes to shove, that ends up being the right guy. Remember the DeMeco Ryan stuff and how awfully it went with Houston on the way out when that job ends up coming open and he goes back and takes that job, remember the kind of the roar, like, that did not end well. Why we're going to go down this road, right?
And it was, you're settling for a guy who is a defensive coordinator on Kyle Shanahan's baby of a team that is offensively led, and he has all these first-round picks, on his defense.
And now how is DeMeco Ryans viewed?
It is a leader of men opportunity.
Yeah.
And Dan Quinn, as a leader of men, got the Falcons to a Super Bowl, and other things kind of fell apart around him. The interesting part for me will be, all right, what does Josh Harris's ownership look like?
Mm-hmm.
Adam Peters, who was the first GM hire of this cycle in Washington, what does his leadership look like? Their talent evaluation, how they draft,
how do they
what they can do to support Dan Quinn. Because truly, that's what all of these head coaches are dependent on. You're dependent on your quarterback, number one, who they're going to draft. And so this is going to be the hard part too. You've got to nail your coordinator hire and make sure his ass doesn't leave, because you're going to stunt the development and growth of a young quarterback.
You get. And that's the most important part of this, is what does the coordinator group look like, and what does the support and infrastructure look like, and what choices do they make in their first draft? Because that's where it all dovetail from. Do they go quarterback? Is the quarterback there that they want? Are they going to reach for it? Are they going to say, no, we're not going to Carolina Panthers this, and instead we're going to go get weapons or go get other tools first? Let's say they don't rate Drake May.
Have you heard what the latest rumor is?
Which one?
Chicago would be willing to move back, and they go get Caleb Williams, and they bring Caleb Williams
back
home
to DC. Yeah,
and they get a haul. They get a haul RG3-esque, right? Where they moved up a few spots to get RG3, and
back-to-back
they paid
years
the
Bears
piper.
Doing that and then not getting a quarterback out of this would be the most Bearsian thing. It would be,
dude, they got their guy.
It would be the most Stockholm syndrome thing of like, we're actually not allowed to have a good quarterback, so we'll just get like all of the other things, and then we'll figure it out.
Yeah, they'll just Detroit did it with Jared Goff.
Yeah.
Like
magnitude's better than Justin Fields.
You don't know that yet.
Yeah, just give him a chance. Just give him a chance. I honestly hope that the Bears do that, just so they have another mark on their.
Look, everything that you hear right now is smoke.
Sure,
it's all smoke. It's all smoke.
But my point being, with the Commanders, let's say that they stay at 3, and Drake May is the guy there, and they don't rate Drake May. Maybe they see him as
you got some warts.
Look, sure. They see him as another North Carolina quarterback that doesn't have a ton of. It's not 4 years worth of tape, but it wasn't otherworldly. We're not going to go down that road. But instead, maybe there is another team that wants a quarterback, and they trade up and they trade back, and they do what the Texans or the Bears did last year, and they go get their other guys. You go get an offensive lineman and one of the wide receivers, and then you're in the next draft and you go get your quarterback next year. Because you're still not going to be good, because you have so many holes to fill. But the backbone of your team is starting to be built on everything else, and you're looking for your quarterback. I think it's going to be very interesting just to see kind of how the Commanders, are they going to try to rush this and force this? Because we need our quarterback now and go from there? Or are they going to build this team really like every other great team has been built right now, which is go get everything else and plug your young quarterback?
Well, Adam Peters as well, he comes from the San Francisco 49ers, where their draft talent evaluation has been top-notch.
And they went and did everything else and then got their quarterback. The Eagles went and did everything else, got their quarterback. I mean, you just look down the list of the Chiefs for years. They had everything else. Mahomes comes along behind Alex Smith. There you go.
That's what the Bears are waiting for.
And so go get the quarterback. They still need the other thing still.
I would love if the Bears traded back to 2 and then just drafted Jaden Daniels, and they have 2 Justin Fields on their team.
God. You know what? For the content. Make it happen.
Well,
I am all for it.
We have the final hire of the 8 is in place. It is Dan Quinn in Washington. I believe he's the 6th best hire of this cycle. Harbaugh, clear-cut number 1.
Yeah.
It's a big fall-off after that. And my number 2 might surprise people. I think it's Raheem Morris in Atlanta.
Oh.
Yeah. I like Raheem Morris a lot.
Okay.
Talent developer. They need a quarterback, obviously, but leader of men, he's got that quality about him.
And I think you and I both sit on the same side of the pier when it comes to that stuff. I'd much rather in my head coach have that guy than the super heavy X's and O's guy.
And he is he took over an S show in Tampa. Like people forget how
that was scraping
awful.
the barrel from the transition period from that last good Bucks team.
So
I mean,
bad.
That was to go full Buccaneers. That was a swashbuckling bucket of crap.
I think number 3 is your Raiders and Antonio Pierce, though. You get a guy who is
leader,
the players coach
type thing.
He needs to still hire an offensive coordinator.
I think that has the biggest amount of variance. It's either, I don't think it's a hire that goes okay. I think it's a hire that goes incredibly well or crashes into the cliffs.
Absolutely.
I don't think there's an in-between with that hire.
There isn't.
But I also think the upside of that hire is very high.
And I think that's where everybody outside of Harbaugh is kind of lumped in that same category, because that's where you go. After that, I'll go Seahawks and Mike McDonald, who I've loved what he's saying. Mm-hmm. And you talk about the leader of men qualities. He's got that in spades. Then you go like the Gerard Mayo. Also smart as a whip.
Can he be D'Amico Ryans 2.0?
He is a guy who connects with players a lot better than Bill Belichick did. Then Dan Quinn, then Dave Canales. That was whoa. But I think the worst hire is Tommy Callahan in Tennessee. I know that's not his name, but I like Tommy Boy that much. Brian Callahan.
Yeah, I liked it.
I like it. I going and getting Cincinnati's offensive coordinator is like. Good luck.
Okay.
You're the one with a shell on it.
Yeah. A lot of people go to college for 7 years.
Yeah. Oh, my God. My family's in that car.
They're called doctors.
Yeah, I feel like the lighting the model on fire is a very synonymous with what the Tennessee Titans did with the was it the owner or was it the GM that hated Vrabel?
Yes.
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 Yeah, I think they're gonna have their a fine slice of Tennessee's humble pie when they get to the other side of that coaching tree.
Bill Belichick, according to Diana Rossini, was contacted and interviewed for this job. He was considered, and he had the stamp of approval from decision makers, according to reports that are out there.
Shouts to whoever Bill Belichick's agent is for getting that out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was on the list, but he wasn't chosen over Dan Quinn. I don't know if you necessarily want that out there.
Well, the
but
stamp of approval for decision makers sounds like it may be from them inside, and somebody's like, look, they thought Belichick was going to be the guy. You know? That may be where that one lies. But Mike Vrabel, no job. Bill Belichick,
does Vrabel
no job.
Just not? Does he sit out the year, or does he get a coordinator or an analyst?
I don't know if they're going to pay you. Just sit out, party for a year, get your resume,
throw
and then
Vrabel on TV.
Tell it. Oh yeah,
Vrabel on that. Now I'm in. Throw Vrabel on TV.
Vrabel on TV.
Yeah.
Eric Bieniemy is without a job now.
That's right. God, that was quick.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Raiders.
He's got to no. Well,
Raiders.
I'm not against that.
Okay.
Let's. You know what? Vrabel, defensive coordinator. Bieniemy, offensive coordinator. Let's go.
Didn't they hire a DC?
Yeah, they did.
Okay. They got a guy.
Yeah. But a guy can have a guy.